Yeah,
to accept the agenda.
Second.
Was it modified, I think?
I don't think so, no.
No. Move to accept the agenda of March 11th.
You're wondering if something got added?
Right.
Okay, no.
No, just got deleted, no.
That's Monday, February 25th. That's, we're looking at a different agenda.
Oh.
This is the March 11th one.
Is that still on the agenda?
I believe so, just
Okay.
discussion of the RFP.
All right. Move to accept the agenda of March 11th, 2013.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I know I gotta kill another 5 minutes.
There you go.
No reason for nothing to discuss.
All I was going to ask, Mary, did Jennifer, was she around for most of the storm?
Yeah, they kept the shelter open, I think she said until Saturday at 2 p.m. So, oh no, maybe Friday. No, it had to be Saturday.
Saturday, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, they didn't have as many people as the last one because people had power. But she said it went well, so.
Perfect, perfect. They've had good training, so it's, you know,
Yeah, that last one.
yeah. As soon as they got everything put away, they had to take it all out again. Well, with that, I guess we'll just hold till our official Scituate Town Hall time at 7:10. And then you're 24, Webster?
Yes.
All right, well, just give us a couple of minutes. That way, if any other neighbors or butters or anybody else comes in, but a couple of minutes.
I can set this up so we can agree on location.
Sure.
That work? We're going to consider this, you guys here first.
How did the road out by your place do?
Oh, rough. Woodbury.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of right up the street from Oceanside, there's a lot of washouts. I was
Sure.
walking around last night.
Okay, I have
Of,
the file here,
The
so.
sides of the road
Thank
now
you.
started washing out, which is, just gonna then further, once that starts, it just keeps on going, you know what I
I
mean?
think it was the bottom of Hadley down towards that way that washed out in 78, washed out in 91, and on the backside of the dike.
Bottom of me, right across from Pier 44, you mean?
No, further down, further towards mine.
Oh, yeah, well, that's,
Yeah, it was,
The beach completely changed where we were.
yeah.
And you can see where you used to be able to walk down on the sand. It's gone, it's like 5 feet. Now you walk about 200 yards up the beach, and that's where all the sand is, but it came up over the wall and onto the road. You know,
it's not just a
through
big
people's
pile.
backyards or
Yeah.
side yards or whatever, under their houses, the ones that have pilings on them, and then just dumped it all on the road. I'm like, it was the strangest thing I've ever
Hadn't seen that before.
I mean, I've seen that beach shift around from storm to storm, but I've never seen the sand come up.
Because it kind of came from a different direction this past one. It wasn't quite a nor'easter, right? It was kind of, the currents were a little different, right?
A little more northerly, I thought.
Yeah.
It looked man-made versus
Probably the only thing that saved most of the town. Is that, I think it started building around
I noticed that
Monday afternoon, Tuesday. I mean, it was still sunny days, but it was blowing that light instantly, just enough to get things going.
figure out what to do.
Yeah, I hope that's the last one for a while. That needs some warm sunny days here.
Is that coming back to me for some reason?
The second page.
That was the one with 2 purchase orders, remember I
Oh, that's
said?
right, that's right. I'm the one who forgot the second page here.
That's okay, you run along. Thanks.
Gotta have it all official.
We're all here?
Yeah, yeah. Anybody not here, speak up.
A friend of mine was down at Grant Rock, and they were having lunch, and they came in, the waitress said, everybody's gotta leave, everybody's gotta leave. And within 20 minutes, that whole area had flooded, and guys were kayaking by.
Oh, gee, it's gross, holy mackerel. 7:10 PM, public hearing, septic design plan, number 24 Webster Street, local upgrade approval request.
Good evening. My name is John Cavanero from Cavanero Consulting in Norwell, civil engineer. And I'm here on behalf of the owners, Jean Olsher and Isaac Schwecke. This is their property, 24 Webster Street. And this is one of a few properties that were actually demolished through the fire about a year ago, if you can recall, on Hummerock Beach. And they're in the process of reconstructing, going through the permitting to reconstruct this home. And since this is such a substantial reconstruction, they're taking a house that was formerly not completely flood compliant because it had a finished basement. It was not a structure that was set on a pier foundation, as you can recall. And what they're in the process of is permitting this for a completely flood compliant, currently code compliant structure. So one of the things that we wanted them to consider was a voluntary upgrade for their septic system to replace a system that currently is actually compliant in terms of current Title V regulations, but it is an outdated system, and we thought, well, let's investigate what a completely current compliant system would be, even though systems can pass Title V inspections, which this has, the current system, because of its location to groundwater. This is all beautiful gravelly material, sandy material, with really no water table to speak of. We thought, well, since you're going through this effort, rather than have an issue down the road with the system, you have to come back and reconstruct an area, let's try to tackle this all at once. So this is a voluntary upgrade to their septic system. It's essentially an in-kind replacement. How we're sizing the system is based on two things. The Title V inspection, they indicated it was a 4-bedroom system, but more importantly, we go to the assessor's records as far as the total number of rooms we look at, not necessarily what's designated as a bedroom, but we focus on the number of rooms what could be a bedroom. And the original house was classified with 9 rooms, so divided by 2, rounded down, we come up with a 4-bedroom system. So that's also consistent with what the Title V inspection had on the file. What's being proposed is a 4-bedroom house to replace it. They're not obviously going to have a basement like they did before, but they'll have 2-story living in the same design flow. So, but unlike the existing system, which is identified in pink, right now there are 2 structures, 1 chamber that provides primary treatment with an overflow pipe to a leaching pit in the rear of the property. The current system actually crosses the water line indicated in blue, and it's a little closer to the property line than what we're actually proposing. So in this neighborhood, this is actually a pretty good fit with respect to the general lot configuration and the available space on the lot. So we're proposing a more conventional primary treatment tank, a distribution box, and then leaching chambers.
So the yellow is the proposal?
The yellow is the proposed,
I
exactly.
had me fooled here for a second.
Yeah, so that's proposed, this is existing, and there's the water line. So with this application, we do have to seek a few waivers, just based on the physical constraints that we have out here. We tried to keep it as centrally located on the lot as possible, but we still are less than the 10 feet required for the property line. We have made this field as small as possible within the current requirements. We are allowed to request a 25% reduction with this technology. This is a specific infiltrator, quick pour, that DEP identifies as a selected type of chamber that is suitable for a 25% reduction of field size. And lastly, because we have an existing water line, even though we're not going to be crossing the water line, we'll still be less than 10 feet to the tank. But that's an existing service that we want to just keep in place, and we feel as though this will provide equal, if not better, environmental protection than the water line crossing the existing effluent. So with that, I'd open up for questions.
Any questions?
No question.
The only question I have is, with the water line, are you going to encase that?
Yeah, we can certainly encase this section that it's closer to.
I think that's normally pipe and cement and,
Yeah.
yeah. I can't think of anything else. Do you have any other
I
questions?
mean, are there any butters here?
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to get to that.
No, I don't have any questions. I'm sorry.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, any,
Yes, my name's Donald Gibson. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Driscoll and Gibson Marshfield, and I represent the abutter to the south, which is Alice's House Inc., which owns this adjacent property that he just pointed out. My question is, a couple of questions. How close do the leaching galleys or chambers come to our property line? You're seeking a waiver from the 10-foot setback. How close are you coming?
5.5 feet.
5.5 feet. And do you have any comment as to whether or not, given the new configuration of the proposed leaching area, if there's any danger of the effluent, I'll call it, leaching onto our property?
No, based on the type of soils that are out there and the system that we're proposing, we feel as though this system will allow the effluent to be carried through and create a biomat and drain vertically in these types of soils. So we're not concerned that we'll have any substantial exfiltration outside of the property line.
If you were required to meet the 10-foot setback requirement, how would that reduce the size of the leaching area?
It would reduce it by 4.5 feet naturally in this direction by the width of the chamber, so we would be.
Is there something fundamental about that additional 4.5 feet?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's substantial.
All right. And
What's the total length of the chambers?
The chambers are about, grab the scale. They're 64 feet total, so they're probably about 20 feet or so each in length.
The whole lot itself is 7,500 square feet.
Yes. So each chamber is about 22 feet in length, including the end caps.
So, okay, so 4 feet would be
Yeah.
15 to 20% reduction.
You know, we have a lot that's 50 feet wide, so we're really constrained with a water line on one side. It's really physically impossible to do anything without seeking any waivers to the lot lines. So this is pretty standard in this neighborhood.
all right, so you're essentially representing to us, and you're quite confident that this is going to be essentially a vertical
based on the soil.
movement into the subsoil.
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. Have you done any investigation as to determine the water line, where the water line is for our property or any adjacent properties? You show yours, but
Yes.
I'm not quite certain where the water line is for our particular property, how it comes in.
No, we have not indicated that.
Well, that would be certainly-
It's a valid point, it's a very valid point.
Interest of us,
Yeah.
whether it's coming in off of Webster or it's coming in off of Central.
You know?
I don't know, and I confess my ignorance in that regard, but that's something that we would want to...
Just for your protection. No, it's a good point. It's a very good point. Because your water line, if it was on that property line, would be within 10 feet, and it could cause an issue. And it might be something that you got to send the guys back out and locate it, would put it on the plan, just to confirm that.
Yeah, Ron, you're right.
Have we had a case like that, that's
If it is, it's going to be less than 10 feet to your system. We do know where your leaching field is approximately.
Right.
So if the water line is on your property, it's going to be less than 10 feet from your system. If it's on your property between our lot line and your system, it's going to be less than 10 feet.
Right, but that's not the question.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
I think that was part of the question, is how close is it?
Yeah, it wouldn't be a bad thing to confirm in the field and
We'll do it.
just put that question to rest.
You might need another variance.
Another hearing?
Variance, yeah, hearing. I mean, what if the water line is right down the property line? Then you're within 10 feet. Right?
Would be.
It's no different than the well.
Right?
Are there any other questions?
I do just have one other question.
Please.
You know, we've always had a great relationship with Isaac and his wife, so and we're happy to see the house go back up again. There's a question before the Board of Appeal, well, no, it's for the Concom. The previous driveway area where this system is going was paved over. And Concom was interested in seeing if they could come to some resolution with the property owner to eliminate some of that pavement so that any water coming in from the ocean would essentially...
Yeah, that was going to be my
I guess be absorbed or go down rather than accelerated across this impervious surface. Is there anything about that affects the operation of the septic system? In other words, were it to be paved back over, is that going to affect the operation of the system? Or if it wasn't paved over, and let's say only 60% of it was paved again, is that going to affect the operation of the system at all?
The system is designed to withstand H20 loading, so our car loads. So it's designed to have either or. The plan is to currently have it paved.
But I think the answer to the question is it does not affect the operation.
It doesn't affect that at all.
So, my name's Mark Davis, 20 Webster Street, the property right behind that, right there. I guess my question goes on that, is you just started out by saying that because of the gravel and everything, rain and everything through it disperses it down. My problem is that the tar over it is not going to disperse it down, the rain will beat off and run off the side. So is that another issue that we got to worry about if he puts tar back on top of that? Do we have to worry about it? If there is an issue with a failure in the tank, is that going to bubble up because you're not going to have water and stuff coming on top of it, pushing it down because you're sealing it on top? But
No, it's actually two different points. The first question was about the effluent and the subsurface flow of water.
yeah,
The Butters Council was questioning whether or not water will generally tend to migrate this way. And my answer is the flow will generally migrate and fill up the chambers, create a biomass. and Flow it out. That's what, these are sized to withstand that. That's the point. Your question is, what's happening on the surface? Will that have any effect on what's happening under the surface? And the answer is no.
okay.
Everything now is all paved. Everything in gray, this is all paved today. So the Conservation Commission is asking, well, are there any opportunities to reduce your lot coverage, and that hasn't been decided. But this system has been designed to withstand vehicle loads. That's the most important thing that we're concerned about. So whether it's paved or whether it's a compacted gravel surface.
And you've already been in front of Concom and going back, is that?
Yes, they wanted us to come through Board of Health as well before they close there.
And you have to bring this in front of zoning too, as a section 6?
It's been through zoning.
Okay, and
It's been closed.
what did you get there? A section 6 finding?
Yes.
So I just did a similar system a couple of years ago, so I understand, I'm not trying to be difficult here, but I guess my question is, I got half this house in my yard right now, so my second question is, how deep is that? And with the undermining we're getting now with the storms, I just don't want anything in that system. I'm only 12 feet away. So I really, my main concern is to make sure that, I mean, everything's undermined, everything. I'm getting, it's going down 2 feet, it's picking stuff up, so I don't know where that, I know when they did mine, mine's only like 1.5 foot underneath the thing. Now, if I was in front, out front, that would undermine, and I just don't want waste coming up into my, I mean, I'm literally, it doesn't show it well there, but I'm right there.
Yeah. Well, there's a tank, there's a solid tank that collects all the
At the top.
primary.
Right, that's just the
And that's sort of the whole point of this, is that let's take this opportunity. We don't have to do anything as far as it goes. We have a Title V system, it's compliant, it works. That's it. We're trying to be a little proactive because we have so much major construction going on. Take the opportunity to build a fully compliant current system. So this actually works. These are probably both, we don't know, but based on the reports, there's likely some infiltration happening in the primary unit, generally what happens with these
Right.
things. And then there's an overflow. What happens is this was probably built first, many years ago, and then they added this after the fact. That's generally how these things work. This is a different system in that this is a solid tank. So the F1 comes into a solid tank, gets collected, creates a...
Like liquid. Right.
Exactly, and this is where the primary treatment happens, and then that overflows to a distribution box that's also underground to the leaching area. So this will behave better than what's up there.
If it gets scoured out during a storm, there's nothing anybody can do about that. It's the nature. And I would say if you observe that, to call the Board of Health and make sure that it gets properly repaired, as a good neighbor, because I don't think anybody wants to be polluting the neighborhood. Yeah, so it's,
Well, I'm just stating for the record, we see it as a significant upgrade. We're certainly all in favor of that, but I do think the point with respect to the water line is...
yeah, I think we're going to address that in the motion here.
Right. And for this area of Scituate, the soils are great, that's the advantage. The lots are generally very small, so it is very typical for us to grant setback variances in Humrock because it's basically shoehorning everything in. But because of the soil, we have the luxury of knowing that it's going to go down rather than rise, where in other areas of the town it's not quite the same, shall we say.
Yes.
So given that, and that I think actually all of the different design elements of this system are an improvement over the pre-existing system, and I applaud the owners of the property for being proactive about it, because it's not a cheap thing to do, as I'm sure you found out.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's cheaper because you don't got to bring in soil.
Yeah.
So that's, but other than that, the materials are quite expensive.
I move to approve the requested variances with the one caveat that the engineer provide, when there is an as-built done after, the work, I guess while the work is being done, right?
Well, it has to be before.
It has to be before, in case there's another variance.
Do an as-built and it's 10 feet, then it's as-built.
Yeah, I guess you're right. All right, so subject to the engineer providing a modified drawing showing the location of the water line for the abutting property, which is number
112 Humrock Beach.
112, showing that it's within the required setback, and obviously if not, we'll have another hearing and address that at the hearing. And also, subject to an agreement to encase the water line in the area of the tank.
Do you guys want to exchange information so maybe they can?
And you're gonna fill in.
Sure, I have
the old system.
their first address information. I will check with the water department and see if it can be available.
Yeah, that way if it's, you guys will know, yeah, yeah.
Gas line is right in here.
And as part of that, the old system gets,
Pardon me?
the old system gets either filled in or disconnected, right?
It'll be decommissioned in accordance with the rules.
Second on the
I will
motion.
second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Very welcome, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, because when they were doing that with the gas during the...
7:20 PM, public hearing, septic system repair, number 309 Central Avenue, local upgrade, approval request. How you doing? Evening it is, come on, sit down, please.
Thank you.
Welcome. Good evening, my name is Gary Walcott, I work for Brady Consulting. We're representing the homeowner, James Perkins, in this matter. As you said, it is a septic repair project. And it's at 309 Central Ave in the Humrock region of town. As I heard you describing in the last hearing, it is there's small lots down there. On this particular lot, we do have wetlands, the salt marsh in particular. We had those delineated by a botanist, John Zimmer, in summer of last year. Did some perk testing out there. And also in July of last year. At that time, we did find water in the pervious layer of soil that was modeling at 3 feet, so we were unable to perform a standard perk test. We did pull a sieve sample, and one of the variants, or one of the upgrades I'll be asking approval for is the use of that sieve analysis where our standard perk test could not be conducted. And as you said...
Why couldn't that be conducted, just curiosity?
Well, because when this water in the, like...
The tide was that high, the water was...
It was just, the soil was, saturated, so...
And what's prompting the repair?
What's prompting the repair?
Yeah.
The owner has just decided, like the last one did, that she's doing a lot of landscaping over there too, and she's got a filing coming up with Conservation Commission. She just bought the place, she's just looking to basically bring everything up to, she wants to retire there, doesn't want to have to think about it again, just wants to deal with it all.
So this didn't fail Title V or anything?
No, not that I'm aware of, no.
Yeah, that's what prompted me to ask.
Yeah, no, they would have, I think, they would have found that there was groundwater in the leaching area, which at 3 feet, I would imagine would be on any type of system that they have on the site. But what we've designed here is we've got a 1,500-gallon monolithic anti-flotation septic tank, a 1,500-gallon monolithic anti-flotation pump chamber, and that's going to pump that up to a 37.5-foot long by 12.8 feet or so wide leaching chamber system with 4 rows of 6 ADS standard biodiffusers, 11-inch high biodiffusers. As we were describing before, with the limited amount of space on the lot, we are looking for some setback relief. In particular, we're looking, because the modeling was as high as it was at 3 feet, and we need to keep a separation to that above the groundwater, we are having to raise the grade, and where we're run out of room here, we're proposing a retaining wall across the front property line here and along the edge on this side. There is a local variance that we'll need to get for that, to have that retaining wall at the property line. We're asking for permission. It's not going to be very tall at all. It's going to be at elevation 10.3, and the existing elevation out there is about 8.3 now, so 2 feet, and they're talking about doing all kinds of bushes and stuff, pretty much trying to hide it as much as they can. There are existing bushes out in the front beyond the property line that will hide the front.
Is that the town land?
Yes. The bushes that are out in the front there,
Yeah.
beyond that.
Out of Central Ave.
Yeah, it's right after as you go into Fourth Cliff, it's right after, you know how it splits there? Central Ave goes to the left. It's the first house you see on the left. It's all salt marsh right up to there, edge there. So we're looking to reduce the setback.
Tell me, does this go over to this property line too?
It goes just about right to the property line. It's an
Because we've been
existing,
very sensitive about putting walls right up to people's property lines. You may not have heard.
I haven't heard that yet.
Yes. So that's, and I don't think we've faced a situation where it's the towns. The rationale being that mostly that we want to give people the ability to do work and repairs without trespass.
There has been, well, at least in regard to the one on the front property line, we have sent a copy of the plan and a letter to the DPW asking for their comment on that.
Appreciate that, because I was probably going to come up too, but
And the other, this abutter on this side has received notice of the hearing.
is there any information for his lot to how it's going to merge with this lot? Because with this being raised up, it seems like it could.
Yeah, they have, that's what these properties here, there's a existing wall, timber wall with a fence on it, it's basically right on the property line there. The existing grades beyond that are 10.3 on their property, it's at that 10.3, and then there's the wall right at the property line, and then it drops down to our client's property. So what we're proposing is grading up to that, but not above. I mean, we're looking for 10.5 over our system and then just slightly grading off.
So it's coming into the contour there.
Correct.
And so how far back is the system itself from his property line?
It's 5.4 feet from that property line.
But it's gonna slope down?
Just slightly. I mean, it's only 0.2 difference now from where it is at their property line to where our required cover is. I mean, we could do it less, more, however you guys like it best.
Tell me a little bit more about the wall here that jogs in. Do you really need that?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, unless we could get permission to grade off of the property. I mean, if the town was okay with us grading.
Well, I'm just talking about this
Yeah,
part here,
yeah.
as opposed to the whole front part.
That part.
The part that abuts
Yeah, it would-
the neighbor rather than the town. Could you come up right to his property line with at the end of your wall here,
Well, we
right?
need a 3-to-1 slope there. Would need, to get down to 8.3, that's 2 feet, would need about 6 feet there to get that back to the existing grade without doing anything on this. I mean, if we shifted, we could move everything a little bit closer and get rid of that particular part of it and have it just grade down. We could, 3-to-1 is what is suggested as the slope. I mean, I'm sure they'll allow a little steeper, but even 3-to-1 is pretty steep, really. But we need about, from here, actually, I mean, it's 5.4 feet right to the line here, on this angle to this little corner here. It's probably, we can probably make that 6 feet to keep everything on the property there. We're going to eliminate that. We're at 45s there and grade off naturally in that corner. Then that could be fine.
I think that's personally a preferable. I mean, we're gonna cut you a break, I think, on the town, at least I am, on the town, and the wall being right on the town property line.
Well, what's DPW gonna say about that, though?
They haven't said anything?
Generally, they don't. I mean, we've had this, I mean, I don't want to say that every job's the same or anything, but when we have run across this in the past, Jennifer has always suggested that we send them a plan and
Right.
contact them, and they've actually never really ever commented on it.
Well, but, yeah, and the town isn't gonna have a problem if somebody needs access to, you know, you're working on that wall.
Right, there's no question of trespassing from that.
I would agree about the corner.
I think we can make that work,
Okay.
eliminating that part, that wouldn't, I don't think that's a problem.
Okay.
Then the only thing, if there's no other questions in particular about the design, I'll just kind of go through the
Yeah, when you tell us the
variances.
variance.
Basically, for the property line, we're looking for relief, as I said, for the wall to the front property line. And, you know, reducing it basically down to 0, putting the bottom of it, and it sort of leans away from the property line. So the front part of it will be right at the property line, and the top of it will be slightly back from that, but it's basically a 0 setback. We're looking to reduce the leaching field setback to the property line from 10 feet to 7 feet in the front here, and from 10 feet to 5.4 feet to the neighbor's yard. We're looking to reduce the setback of the pump chamber and the septic tank to the slab foundation of the house from the required 10 feet to 4.5 feet. And we're looking to reduce the separation of the leaching chambers, to the water line from 10 feet to 5 feet. We do have a poly barrier between where the water line is being relocated to and the existing leaching system, but we still are left with a 5-foot separation there. And we're also looking for relief for the leaching chamber setback to the salt marsh from the required 50 feet to 24.9 feet.
Put it.
Right there is the closest we can get with it there, yeah. I mean, the furthest we can keep it away there.
Is it a local upgrade?
Yes. As I said, we are asking for relief to use a sieve instead of a standard perk. And trying to keep all the grading on the property, we are asking to reduce the separation to the groundwater from the required 4 feet to 3 feet as well. Without that reduction, some of this grading just won't be able to happen in the space that we have. And that's about all I have. If you have any additional questions or...
Yeah, that was it for me.
The other thing I saw, the water line, it's behind the 40 mil barrier. I don't know. We had the other one where we encase it, I think.
That's fine too. I
Yeah,
can-
just it's an extra security, that's all.
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, anytime it's within the 10 feet, I don't, if somebody would just go ahead and make that mandatory, I'd be happy to just...
Yeah, that's just a safety thing. and
Yeah,
I-
exactly.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I'd feel more comfortable if you added that, so I appreciate that. Thank
so
you.
revising it to encase the water service from shut off to the house, the complete distance, and eliminating this 45 section of the
Right.
wall.
I move to approve the requested variances subject to those two conditions. If you just would submit a revised
Yeah, right on
plan,
it.
that would be fine.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you.
Excuse me. I just want to let you know that I had the as-built actually of their septic system, which showed the water line, so I'll just add that to our plan.
The neighbor's water
They
line?
were very happy to see that.
Okay, great.
They actually had to relocate it when they put their system in. It went right through the field.
Oh, good. Yeah, just we'll put on the plan with Jennifer, and they're good, so, good.
That's a lot of field work, right? Field work right in the hallway, huh? I love that kind of field work.
Thanks.
7:30 PM, FDA tobacco violations, Scituate Shell. Louise Mazzone, owner.
Second non-show?
This is their third nut show.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I even called to remind him.
and how many violations did they have?
Years past, I think they and CVS were kind of here more than other
I
establishments.
think they were here more than that.
Yeah, they were shut down a few times.
Yeah.
We don't know whether it's the same people or not.
It could be
That was
different
one of the
management.
questions I asked Jennifer, and she didn't know the last time. Also, I'm not sure, given the information that we got, that we can even find that there's a violation. However, I'm very troubled by the fact that they've essentially dissed us 3 times in a row. And we do have the right to inquire as to what their practices are with respect to making sure that cigarettes are not sold to minors. So I move that we ask Jennifer to send a certified mail letter to the Scituate Shell Station, asking them to, directing them to come to the next hearing to show cause why we shouldn't revoke their license to sell cigarettes.
Absolutely.
My motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving right along, 7:40 PM, wind turbine discussion on status of acoustical study RFP. I'll leave the floor to Mr. Dean.
So you're going to get done early this evening.
I'm hoping.
I got a lot of emails. Thank you for being so quick with everything. And it was good to be in.
It's a tight time frame.
Yeah, a very tight time frame, and it was good to have that loop go as quick as you were. And again, with all the conditions set forth at the end of last week,
I've tried to keep the board informed as to what we've been doing, and you've seen edits to the RFP. As you know, it did go out to 10 firms, the 6 on Scituate Winds list, 4 on the community reps list, where you'll see on the notes I gave you, with an asterisk, I received either confirmation they received an email or they actually emailed me back that they had received it. As you know, from seeing the last minute changes, there were some clarifications. I don't know if anybody had any questions on how I handled the comments that came in from Mass DEP on the RFP. I'm happy to address any questions that you have. We put a schedule in there asking that people get us written questions back by March 8th, last Friday. We requested firms give us confirm that they received it, and also that whether they were interested in bidding. To date, we've heard back from 2 firms, Tech Environmental, who's on the Scituate Wind list, and Noise Control Engineering was on the community rep list, that they are planning to submit. We've not heard from anybody else, although I do know, as I said, that they've received the RFP. We've received one question, which was asking for the manufacturer's sound power level versus the wind speed, and we think we will send that out tomorrow or Wednesday, and unless directed otherwise, I'm assuming we'll just send the question and the answer to all 10 potential closers.
Yep.
Just to, in case they are out there and are thinking about responding.
He keeps it open and transparent, so that's absolutely, couldn't agree with you more.
That's my report on the acoustical study RFP. I've also got some notes here about what's going on with the Mass CEC acoustical study. I think at our last board meeting, was February 22nd, I think I commented that they had just started up. They originally scheduled it for 2 weeks, but they had problems with some of the sampling. I had to actually go out and fix it myself on a Saturday. Their what's called a LiDAR system to measure the wind speeds. So a little sign on it that said, "Please do not touch." Experiment in progress. Well, that sign got loose on the wind. It was covering it. So we went out and fixed it. They asked for an extension. We gave them an extension until March 18th. And then, so March 11th. And on Friday, they indicated they had some problems uploading some of the data. And they asked for a further extension, which we've given them until March 18th. So we expect to be done approximately this time next week.
Tough week for anybody to get any work done. That's understandable.
It originally was going to be a half hour a day for 2 weeks. It's now, run into 4 weeks, basically. So, it does affect our operations, but we're trying to be cooperative with Mass CEC on this.
So you have to shut down the turbine for periods of time, is that right?
Yes, yes. And we've actually given the researchers access to our SCADA system, special code. They can get in, so we know it's them. They can shut it down and restart it, and they keep a log of those at that downtime when it restarts for it.
They're shutting it down.
Yes, except, to be, completely honest, except today, there's been problems sometimes with the code not sticking. They emailed us today and asked us to shut it down and restart it for them twice, including last time I did it at 6 o'clock from 6 to 6:10 this evening.
Back to the RFP for a second, I have a question, and just a point of clarification, I guess. As I understood the exchange from the DEP, when we decide, or when we narrow the contractors down and start interviewing the contractors, is my understanding that there's going to be a more specific set of criteria that the DEP wants that we're going to then tell these contractors they're going to need to follow? Is that?
What I understood, and I think it's in the RFP, we would ask them to detail exactly what the protocol is going to be as part of their proposal.
Right.
And then DEP wanted us to submit it to them and to the board, and then have a chance to comment on it, so they could say, they could accept these results or not accept the results.
Okay. So it goes from the contractor to the DEP and then back. So that could take a little time.
That was my concern on the schedule. I did shorten up the schedule a little bit from what you folks had suggested at the last meeting to try to get that. And as I said, I also amended the RFP, the form of the RFP, so that we can just get email responses. We're getting people to put stuff in overnight and just adding that day and extra complexities.
Would it make sense to reach out to any of these people who haven't responded as to whether they're interested or not? Or if time is an issue for them? I'm concerned that we only have 2.
I could do that tomorrow.
I think it's worth a shot. If they say, no, we're too busy, given the time frame that we put in, that's fine, but it would be nice if we knew why somebody
Good for the record, too, yeah.
somebody isn't interested in getting some business,
Yeah.
Well, as I indicated, I think the people in Maine and Michigan probably figure it's a long way to come from.
Well, that's true.
But
Yeah, for the, yeah.
trying to match.
Tough to compete with that.
And win, but.
Great. Okay, great. So it sounds like the next time we'll be seeing you, we'll have some proposals.
That's the objective is.
Perfect. I don't have any other,
Splice it up.
do you have any other questions, any comments or anything? Anything else here? Good.
No, I kind of missed a bunch of stuff because I had to go into school committee meetings. There's not one tonight, so yeah.
You got us all here, so,
I guess, what I could ask while I have you all here is, so basically, you sent out the RFPs, and as you said, you just got 2 responses back. And I can talk to you more about this later, but just to kind of give you an idea of what's happening. So, no one's been hired or anything yet. That's still
working towards that.
right. It's still down the road a little bit.
Proposals are due on March 21st from the company.
That's right, it's not too far down the road.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then that we'll just make a decision.
And our schedule says that we'll interview them if we need to, which I think I would prefer we do, but we'll see, on March 25th, and then shortly thereafter, hopefully, we'll make a selection.
Okay, so it's just coming along in just different steps.
Right, and we're gonna have extra meetings to accommodate the proposals and the interviews and to move it along, to keep it
And
flowing.
the board of health will be interviewing, the contractor.
Correct.
Pretty much. Now, the steering committee, is that kind of, have they served their purpose already?
I believe they've served their purpose, they're basically dissolved, yeah.
Okay. I know that they were just kind of working together to try to get to this point. And now that, just get my bearings.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, and I guess it's really, we'll just continue it on. There's no vote or any motions or anything, there's no need for that, and, all right, we'll close it. Thank you.
Wouldn't want to move your meetings to Tuesday night, would you, so I keep missing my tennis match?
That would really mess us up.
The selectmen meet Tuesday nights. So I can't go up to this meeting. No,
Anything else?
No, we're good. Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, thank you. Any old business? Any new
I'll
business?
email you, okay?
Our next scheduled meeting is Monday, March 25th, 2013. Okay, meeting adjourned.
Second.